Yo, what's up, guys? It's me, Tough Lenderman here, back again with another video. Today, I kind of wanted to make, I don't know, a little rant video about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, if you've been a fucking hermit for the past 10 years, and you don't know what the MCU is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is a universe of connected movies based off of Marvel characters. So, obviously, you have your Captain Americas, your Iron Mans, well, they're dead now, spoilers for Endgame, 3 years late. And you have your Captain Marvels, your Ant Mans, your Spider Mans, and they're all in this connected little universe. So yeah, and recently the MCU's kind of been going downhill in my opinion. Now, if you don't know, Endgame basically came out 3 years ago, and honestly, we still feel it today. Like, the ending was so perfect, and a lot of people just wanted the MCU to end after there, but obviously Disney's still wanting to make money off of Marvel, and seeing that Endgame was the best-selling movie of all time till Avatar beat it somehow last year. They kept going with the MCU, and at this point, I'm kind of tired of the MCU. Like, I'll still watch the movies to catch up, but like, I'm just constantly disappointed in what the MCU is doing. So, I'm just gonna talk about it. So, first of all, Phase 4 has been terrible so far. So far in Phase 4, we've had WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Black Widow, Eternals, and Shang-Chi. And we're getting Spider-Man 3, which I assume is going to be actually decent. So, yeah, Phase 4 has not been that great. We started off with WandaVision, which I enjoyed decently, but on a second watch through, it wasn't that good. And especially about some things later, it just made me dislike the show. And especially the fans also, they kind of ruined the show for me, because this really gave the rise to MCU standum, where, like Dream Stands, you have these MCU stands on Twitter who constantly shill for the MCU and basically say everything is great, everything is perfect. Oh, if you criticize it, you're coping. Basic stuff like that. And honestly, I think WandaVision, it might have not created that kind of area of the MCU, but it definitely exacerbated it a lot with, 15-year-old white girls really identifying with Wanda. So, next thing that came out in the MCU, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think this is the second best thing in Phase 4 so far, which was actually pretty decent for the most part. There were a few plot holes, and the plot was kind of wrapped up terribly as usual, but I still kind of like the characters. Bucky's little arc was good, Sam's arc was great, and obviously, not Doug Walker. Why would I say Doug Walker? That's weird. I literally can't remember his name right now. John Walker, there we go. John Walker's arc was really good, but the rest of the show just kind of sucked, especially the Power Broker stuff with Sharon being the Power Broker and the Flag Smashers. But then we had Loki, which I really loved on my first watch through, but kind of going back to it, the show's kind of soured on me. I still like it, but I don't love it anymore. So that was something I actually enjoyed in Phase 4, and for the most part, that was like the first half of the MCU's year, and for me at least, it was looking pretty good. We had some decent shows on the air, and they all wrapped up pretty fine, besides WandaVision and Fatwas. But, for the most part, it was good. And then we had Black Widow, which is one of the biggest signs of the decline of the MCU. Now, you already had the marketing, and I don't want to sound like the geeks and gamers, because, they're a bunch of idiots who try to just make everything seem bad, but the marketing was definitely a little weird and pandering towards a lot of feminist stuff, like not Black Widow, Captain Marvel, and that kind of put me off from the movie. And when I watched it, I was surprised on how non-preachy it was. Besides that scene with the villain right at the end, where he was like, I have the world's biggest resource. I mean, most useless resource, girls. Like, that was dumb. But the rest of the movie, on my first watch through, I loved it. But then I watched it again, and then I watched the Mahler video, which, great guy, you should go watch me. There's great criticism, but I watched the Mahler video, and then the movie completely ruined for me. I hate it. It's not good, and it kind of character assassinates Black Widow. This might not be my own opinion, and I might have to watch it a third time to really get a full view on it, seeing Mahler's criticisms and seeing, how I like the movie after hearing that. But yeah, I did not like Black Widow, and then we had Shang-Chi. Well, first of all, we had What If in the summer, which was, for the most part, pretty good. We had a few episodes that were kind of missing for me, but for the most part, we had Party Thor, zombies, And what was the other one that was really good? I forgot. But point is, What If was pretty good, and I enjoyed it. And then Shang-Chi was also really good. It was actually a good filler MCU movie, because for the past few years, another problem with the MCU is that their filler movies have been kind of garbage. Anything that wasn't Captain America or Avengers was pretty lackluster. Like, you'd have an Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp or Doctor Strange, which would be decent, but would be pretty forgettable. Though, filler movies didn't really become much of a problem until, I'd say, Captain Marvel, where that one was really bad, and then Ant-Man and the Wasp also followed in, became crap, and then everyone hated Far From Home, which made it even worse. But then Shang-Chi, it actually kind of gave me a little more hope in Phase 4, because it came out, and I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the better MCU films in general. And then we had Eternals. Now, this is probably one of the most divisive MCU movies besides, like, Captain Marvel or Black Panther, I'd say. Well, not even Black Panther. Everyone loves it, for the most part, but when I started seeing critics saying that it was bad online, I was getting kind of worried, because one of my main problems with the MCU is that it's always the same formula. They have these little quippy jokes that aren't really funny. They have a non-serious tone. They just constantly make meta references, and it's not really funny at this point. Like, the MCU tries to lean too much into humor and being a little too goofy, like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. But unlike those, it's not really charming. It's just a bunch of pop culture references that aren't really that funny anymore. Like, it's the equivalent of just Yas queening on Twitter all day. And I did not enjoy that for the most part. And when I saw Eternals, I saw the trailer, I was like, oh my god, this movie is going to be darker. It might take itself a little more seriously. And I was getting pretty hopeful. And after I saw the critic reviews, I was still trying to hold on to hope and be like, no, if this movie does well and is actually really good, the MCU might change tone. Because if the MCU kind of goes off of the more humor-based movies and, like, starts taking themselves a little more seriously, like some of the earlier films, I think we could probably get some really good movies again. But unfortunately, I watched Eternals, and while the tone was pretty bleak, they still had a lot of the MCU humor forced in there, as usual, and the plot was kind of a mess. I'm not going to go much into Eternals, but it was not good. We had, like, 15 plot points going on at once. We had a twist villain, and we had the stupid deviant villain who literally had, like, 3 scenes. Like, Eternals was not good. It was a nightmare. And I'm baffled that people are saying that it's, like, this masterpiece on Twitter. Like, it's worse than all the Snyder Bros saying, Batman vs. Superman is a masterpiece, so, you know. But anyways, my main problem with the MCU now, speaking of which, is the future of the MCU. Now, today, Disney Plus Day happened, and a lot of stuff got announced. We got the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which I'm excited for, and we got tons of MCU announcements. We got X-Men 97, which is going to be a revival of the 90s X-Men, which I don't really care that much for, but that's cool, I guess, for people who like it. We have Moon Knight, which I'm really excited for, because I hope they actually adapt the character really well, and I like Oscar Isaac as an actor. We have She-Hulk, which could be interesting. We have Miss Marvel, which I'm not really that excited for. We have Echo, which I don't even know who that is. We have Spider-Man Freshman Year, which is going to be an animated show based off of early Spider-Man, which could be interesting. We have Ironheart, which yet again I'm not excited for. We have Agatha House of Darkness, or Harkness, whatever, which is not even interesting at all. Like, a lot of people really liked Agatha after WandaVision, but I just don't get the appeal. Her character was super inconsistent. Like, in episode 6, I believe, or episode 5, in the Halloween episode, Vision, he goes up to Agatha, who's, like, in her car, and she's frozen, because she's, like, out of Wanda's radius, right? And then he, like, turns her off the mind control, and then she acts completely normal. Even though, if Agatha was really controlling everything, then she shouldn't act like this. And, like, and even if she did, how would she know that Vision was coming there? And, like, how is she acting like that? Like, it just doesn't really make much sense. I'm putting this very poorly, but, you know, that whole Vision thing in the Halloween episode with Agatha is a pretty big plot hole. And also just Agatha's motivations weren't that good in general. Like, the character could have been done well, but they barely hinted at it. And by the end, she was just a generic villain that wanted to steal Wanda's power, which kind of sucked, because in episode 6, it was kind of interesting with her trying to figure out how Wanda had her power, but like by the end of that, she just became a stupid generic villain. And then Wanda turned her into a freaking puppet that's just a sitcom character now, and is basically torturing her, and also never, apologizes to the people she tortured for months, which is also character assassination and a problem I have with WandaVision. But yeah, so seeing that Agatha gets a show is just super weird because she does not deserve a show. She's a pretty boring character, and honestly, she only got popular because she had that song in the end of episode 6, which a lot of people like for some reason. It got really big on Spotify, which was weird. The song's kind of catchy, but I don't know why it got super big. Anyways, we got Marvel Zombies, which is interesting. I kind of hope it doesn't follow off of the What If Zombies episode, because I think they should just do a whole new Zombies universe, since the What If Zombies kind of got ruined since all of them got transported into that Ultron dimension. And we finally have Secret Invasion, which is going to be about Nick Fury and the Skrulls, which is going to be kind of weird since they already established the Skrulls are going to be good guys, and we've seen them helping with Sword and replacing Nick Fury and stuff, so we can go on vacation. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but I feel like it's going to be sloppy and kind of bad. So yeah, but the point that I'm trying to make with all these announcements is that it just seems like the MCU is throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, because like I said, after Endgame, the MCU should have just ended. We had a perfect ending. Captain America retires, Iron Man sacrifices himself, and the rest of the Avengers mourn, but they're also revived, and they beat the big bad they were hinting at, Thanos. But they still kept it going, and now we're getting movies about Shang-Chi, the Eternals, we're getting a show about Echo and Ironheart, and we're also getting, like, Miss Marvel and She-Hulk, which, okay, those are actually decent characters that people know, which they should have gotten a show, like in Phase 3, but, they're just giving us a bunch of obscure characters that we don't know. Like, Shang-Chi hasn't been in the comics for years, and then he just shows up in a movie, and now they're making a bunch of spin-offs to, like, tie in with it, or were, like, a month ago. And then also the same thing's gonna happen with Echo and Ironheart and, Zombies, I guess. Well, Zombies kind of ended, like, years ago, but my point is that the MCU's, like, it used to be really something special, and now they're just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks, because, Endgame is over, we lost most of our main characters, and now the only Avengers left, really, are War Machine and Captain Marvel, since that's really the ones in the end credit scene of Shang-Chi. And after Spider-Man ends, I don't know if I'm really going to watch the rest of the MCU, because it doesn't seem that promising. I'm not a big fan of Captain Marvel, and I'm not excited for her new movie. Sam Wilson Captain America seems interesting, but I don't know if he's just gonna be interesting at all for his movie, because we know it's gonna be either Serpent Society or something else, and I don't know if I want to watch that. And seeing that Sam Wilson Captain America is really the only character I really care about now, then if Spider-Man ends, I'm probably gonna drop the MCU, because it's a nightmare. Disney needs to either end the MCU or just take more time to really make better movies, because like I said, the humor is really bringing down the movies, and instead of going for a more self-serious tone, they have this self-referential humor and, Twitter jokes, basically. Not even Twitter jokes, Facebook mom jokes. Because Twitter jokes are edgy, and they're not always good edgy, but, they're edgy. So, we really just have a bunch of Facebook mom jokes disguised as a superhero movie with some dumb end-of-the-world plot and a CGI climax. Like, if Disney's listening to this, which I doubt they are, because I'm just a kid with 200 subscribers, if you want to fix the MCU, stop making so many movies every year. Make like 1 or 2 a year, and stop hiring like talent who's barely done anything in the industry, and actually hire like good writers and directors, and have them work on something longer, and like proofread your scripts and make it, make it good. Like, we need I can't speak today. We need more stuff in the direction of Shang-Chi rather than Eternals. Because, like I said, I like Eternals having more of a darker tone, but I think Shang-Chi just did it much better. They were more serious. They did have more MCU jokes, which I didn't like, but they still had a good plot. They had a decent plot with decent characters. Shang-Chi's dad was pretty cool, but they really just need to be more serious and really focus in on their theming, because while themes aren't all of a movie, like they're just the icing on a cake to a good story, but Shang-Chi had some good themes, with Wenwu and his grief over losing his wife. They could have really leaned into that, but they just kind of did it once and then completely forgot about it. So if they really lean into being more serious like Eternals, and then also having just a good story like Shang-Chi, then I think the MCU could really have good, stories again. So that's really my take on the recent MCU stuff. I hope you guys like the video. It's a little more rambly and unstructured than usual, which is kind of an understatement because my videos are barely structured, but that's really it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Please subscribe, make sure to follow the Twitter and stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.